this year we're having 211 projects that really are profiling, which is both road and bridge projects. And that amount is estimated at approximately $1 billion. Again, it's another construction season of $1 billion. It seems like every year I come here and saying those days are going to be waning. Well, I will tell you absolutely at the start of the next fiscal year, which is July 1st, there is not sources available to maintain a $1 billion program. In fact, this is really the period where we're winding down Chapter 152 bonding authority on the final bridge work. We're wrapping up some major projects like the St. Croix Crossing, like the Highway 53 relocation. These are major projects. As they wind down and with diminished resources, we won't be seeing this kind of robust program in future years. We also are announcing $47 million in some multimodal projects around the state, so we'll have more details on that in your packets as well. Really the purpose, and this is an ongoing debate, we're using our best efforts to keep the system in good working conditions. This is, much has been asked about our project selection process. These projects are really driven by our local districts. They are done with consultation with the public. And again, the key goal is to keep our system in good working condition. Each project is approved from our central statewide perspective. Every season, these kind of funding creates and actually sustains thousands and thousands of jobs across the state, not just public jobs at MnDOT, but really the contractors and the local road construction folks who keep the economy going in many local communities. We really recognize that this transportation system isn't just about construction jobs. It is the underpinning of our economic prosperity in our state. So we recognize our role is not just to keep a system in good shape, it's to support the enterprises that make the quality of life in Minnesota special. There will be a significant drop in transportation funding. We've talked a lot about it. In the past year, we've issued our Minnesota State Highway Investment Plan that highlights an $18 billion shortfall in the state system, the state highway and bridge system over the next 20 years. That shortfall is in both for the preservation to maintain the system and also the needed expansion projects to be competitive with other regions. You'll notice we actually have fewer projects this year. As I mentioned, this is due to the increasing costs of projects and the fact that our flattening of our revenue it really is not able to sustain as many projects as we've had in the past. Governor Dayton does have a plan. I think maybe you may have heard that he has a comprehensive transportation funding plan for the next 10 years. That's a $6 billion for both preservation and expansion of the state highway system. He strongly believes, and we acknowledge, that the general fund is not a source of sustainable funding for transportation improvements. That is because two reasons. One, the uncertainty of that funding in future years, and two, the need to have a dedicated funds to know that as we plan projects multi-years in advance, we're able to count on the funds and actually deliver them efficiently. One-time bonding or earmarks actually goes against our need for efficiency and for our ability to plan projects in the appropriate manner over many periods of years. We need long-term funding for long-term asset preservation. General funds used in other states have been quickly taken away, and that is our fear if the state, or when the state, enters a period of general fund deficits. In addition to the key congestion mitigation bottleneck projects that get a lot of attention, most of the funding over the next 10 years is really addressing 1,700 miles of roadway and as many as 235 bridges, which will not be in good shape and do not have funding to keep them from the eroding pavements and from the bridges being able to sustain the weights of traffic. It is not just the state system that has a shortfall. We have many local governments. If you talk to any county commissioner or mayor in the state of Minnesota, they will tell you about the projects they cannot do, whether it's pavements, whether it's reconstruction or bridge repairs, without the funding. The great mechanism of the distribution formula in our state of Minnesota is that municipalities and counties get a good share of any new funding. So as I mentioned, the work has started across the state. We'll give you much more detail in every part of the metro, every part of the state. There are work zones. I have heard from every mayor who says, oh my goodness, that it actually affects me personally. I feel the commute myself. We are equal opportunity disruptors. No matter where you live, we will find a way to, because our system is eroding, so we have to take care of the pavements that need work across the state. Work zones are key areas to keep aware of. We really urge motorists to be cautious, to drive slowly, and actually consider advance planning for any trip. That doesn't mean it just means your daily trip. It means any special trips. Check out our MnDOT 511 app. It'll tell you the latest information about work zones, and to plan ahead both gives you better expectation about your trip, but also an opportunity to be safe. And we'd like to ask the State Patrol is here today to talk about safety in the work zones. Remember that these are our employees, these are our contractors. We very much want you to come home safely. We want our own employees and contractors to come home safely as well. So work zone safety is a continuing theme that we will continue to find ways to talk about and improve. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. My name is Rochelle Schrofer. I'm the Assistant Chief with the Minnesota State Patrol. As you heard the Commissioner say, the construction season is in full swing. During the spring and summer months, we will see an increase in construction projects. As he mentioned, there will be over 200 active work zones throughout the state during the spring and summer months. A couple things we'd like to ask the motoring public to think about while they're driving out in our roadways, particularly in the construction work zones. Number one is we want people to slow down. Don't forget that fines can increase. They can double in work zones if you happen to be cited. In the last 5 years, 2011 through 2015, 39 people lost their lives, and more than 3,700 people were seriously injured in work zone-related crashes. In 2015 alone, 10 people lost their lives in work zone-related crashes. That was the highest number of work zone-related fatalities since 2010, where we saw 12 people die from work zone-related crashes. The work zones demand that people pay attention to their driving when they're driving through these work zones. We've seen an increase in distracted driving. We know that distracted driving leads to fatalities and severe crashes. The motorists that are using our roadways owe it to the men and women of MnDOT and the contracting companies that are out there working on our roadways. Please pay attention, keep your eyes up, and watch what's going on in front of you. In particular, in work zones, we've all experienced the congestion that can occur in those zones. Unexpectedly, traffic will start and stop in front of you. A fraction of a second of distraction can lead to catastrophic events. So we're asking people to put those distractions aside and please pay attention. If you have the opportunity, we're asking for folks, even though it's not the law, to move over a lane away from those temporary work zone construction barriers. It's safer for the men and women who are working in those work zones, as well as safer for the motorists using the roadways. As the Commissioner mentioned, if you have questions about road closures, alternate routes, traffic conditions, 511minnesota.org is a good place to look for that information. In summary, I'd just like to remind folks to drive to survive. There's a few very simple, common themes that you hear the State Patrol talk about, and we're going to continue with this message because we really believe and we know that statistically it decreases the fatalities and serious injury crashes we have on our roadways. Number one, we're all responsible for playing a part in our safe driving. Drive the speed limit and slow down. There are times where it might make sense to even drive less than the speed limit if the conditions call for it. Wear your seatbelt. Before you put the car in drive, put your belt on. We know seatbelts save lives. Not only your belt, but make sure that every passenger in your vehicle is belted as well. Please, please, please put the distractions aside, whether it be the newspaper, a book, your iPod, more importantly, the device that all of us carry, the cell phones. Those distractions need to be put aside, not only on the roadways in general, but particularly in the work zones because traffic conditions can change so fast in those zones. A fraction of a second, as I mentioned, of distraction, of looking away from the roadway in front of you, can result in the death of yourself or others. Finally, friends don't let friends drive and drink. This season, the summer season, brings the warm weather. It brings a time of opportunity for all of us to attend backyard barbecues or other social events, possibly enjoy dinner and drinks on the patio of one of your local restaurants. So what we ask is that if you're going to drive somewhere and you're going to have a few drinks, either line up a sober ride or get a designated driver that you've identified up front. If you follow these simple driving tips, you can avoid a catastrophic event that may lead to your death or the death of others on our roadways. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Tom O'Keefe. I'm MnDOT Metro District Director of Program Delivery. There's not a lot of news here because so much of our construction has started. This has been, of course, because of the mild winter and also because we've advanced our bid openings for projects from occurring mostly in the winter and spring to occurring mostly in the fall and winter. This allows our contractors to plan their work better. It allows for earlier construction starts as well as more completions in a single season. I'll highlight some of the work with greatest expected traffic impacts moving from west to east across the metro area. Please visit our project websites and sign up for the email updates for projects of interest. Every year, our website gets better and better at describing the traffic impacts, and many of the projects we have out there now have frequently changing closures, so please keep in touch with those changes if you're driving alone before you leave home. Work on Highway 169 in Edina, Minnetonka, and Hopkins started in January. This project replaces the long 9 Mile Creek Bridge with a causeway. So it builds the road on fill over the wetland and a bridge again across the creek. But that shortened the project duration by 1 year. Also, with a full closure, allowed another year plus of saving time on the project. So it's a big impact now with that full closure, but it will be done this year in October is the scheduled opening. That project also includes pavement work north of the closure. That pavement work will result in 1 lane open in each direction, basically between 7th Street and Hopkins, where the full closure starts, and 394. Work on 94 between Shingle Creek Parkway and Brooklyn Center and Nicollet Avenue has also started. This is a very complex, intricate project. It has work on more than 50 bridges, also a variety of pavement fixes. It's going to have ramp and lane closures along its entire length, with I-94 reduced to 2 lanes in each direction at times. Major closures will include southbound 252 to eastbound or southbound 94, and also the westbound 694 loop to southbound or eastbound 94. This will start in May for approximately 2 weeks. Those are big closures. Also beginning in May and continuing into August, we'll be closing one side of the tunnel at a time. As we did in the 80s, we'll be putting 4 lanes of traffic, 2 lanes in each direction, into the barrel of the tunnel that's open. This will begin in May, as I said, and continue into August. This necessitates closing some major freeway-to-freeway movements, including the flyover ramp from northbound 35W to westbound 94 for that duration. And also there'll be closures between 394 and 94, though not all directions at the same time. We have also just started a concrete pavement repair project on Highway 51, Snelling Avenue in Roseville and Falcon Heights. That has 1 lane in each direction, so closure of 1 lane in each direction. We'll complete all those lane closures before the State Fair starts, and we'll also have all lanes open for back to the 50s in late June. The project reconstructing and expanding 694 between Lexington and Rice Street continues this year. We'll again have 2 lanes open with a similar arrangement as we had last year, where we'll have in the eastbound direction an express lane from which you will not be able to take the local exits, and a local access lane. That project will wrap up this year. Continuing to move east, another project. This is a safety improvement and renews the pavement on 110 between Highway 5513 and I-494. This project will have directional closures, so you'll be able to move either eastbound or westbound on 110 across this segment. The eastbound closure starts in June, and it'll be followed by the westbound closure. Later this season, we'll start redecking the High Bridge in St. Paul. That is one of the last Chapter 152 projects that we have. That will require a full closure starting just after Labor Day in September and continuing through the full 2018 construction season. On I-94 east of downtown St. Paul, we continue our project that adds an auxiliary lane and renews the pavement on that stretch. This year's traffic management is very complex. We'll have that local lane through lane configuration that we have on 694 and had last year as well. It also includes movable barrier, which will provide an additional westbound lane in the AM, and in the PM close that and allow an extra eastbound lane. This movable barrier will also allow for off-peak closures to give the contractor more working room. Last 2 projects I'll mention, while they start this year, they do not have major impacts this year. Those will come in the succeeding years. The first of those is 35W Lake Street. That's a big project. It'll reconstruct 35W between 42nd Street and downtown Minneapolis, and it reconfigures and reconstructs the interchange with I-94. That project will continue through 2021. Again, impacts will be very limited this year, with tougher travel in the years to come. Also, we start a project on I-35 north of the split in Columbus and Forest Lake. That's a concrete overlay project, so full renewal of the pavement. The impacts for that project will be very limited this year, just off-peak lane closures with tougher travel lane closures through 2018 and 2019. So it is a shorter list of projects. It'll have certainly big impacts on many of our commuters in the metro area. That concludes my presentation. We stand for questions.
So I would ask, when you take questions, if you could repeat them, because we're recording this and we'd like to be able to capture that. So are there any questions?
Yeah, does the Super Bowl play kind of a big role in this, making sure that the construction projects are done in time? Because this is all focusing on the Metro area.
That sounds like yours.
I can take it.
Does the Super Bowl play a factor in this?
We've done planning around the Super Bowl. One of the things is the Lake Street project will also have a closure of the flyover from northbound 35W to 494, and we're delaying that to occur after the Super Bowl. We've made other adjustments. We are wrapping up a lot of work this year.
Commissioner, could you just clarify, you talked about fewer projects, a less robust list here. Is it, how much of that is the result of no transportation bill recently?
We have, well, the question was the fewer projects, is that a result of not having a transportation bill in the previous years? And the short answer is yes. We have a long list of projects we'd like to do, both key expansions and preservation projects. We kind of call it our Next 10 plan, where we identified a number of pavement sections as well as bridges. And the expansions could be an interchange, not just more lanes, like the 17th most congested interchange in the United States identified as 494 and 35W. And we certainly have initial planning, but we have no funds to do that project. So we do believe there's construction capacity in the future years, but our budgets will probably see a 30 or 40% reduction in our capital program, which is what this is. When you think about that section between Minneapolis and St. Paul on 94, we're studying it. We're thinking about how would we rebuild an interstate that's 50 to 60 years old. But we have no funding. That's a very large project that at someday needs to be addressed. And if you'll see, we keep the pavements okay from asphalt, from patching, and some of the 200,000 cars that go through it every day are well aware of the roughness of what is a central corridor for our state.
What would this news conference look like next year if this impasse continues and there's no bill this session?
We will be announcing a much smaller program. Many of the projects that we've even described today will continue. The I-35 reconstruction is a big one. We do have the funding for that in place. Some of it is using that bonding capacity that was authorized a number of years ago, the Chapter 152, which really was about bridge conditions. And some of that funding is in place to do some of the reconstructions, but the need that goes beyond, and I pick on I-94, but there's many others, including some of the bottlenecks we're experiencing in north on 94 or on Highway 10, and then throughout the state, Highway 14, Highway 23. There's a list of projects that capture communities' imaginations, but there's no funding for those expansions. And whatever funding we have is running out just to preserve the pavements and the bridges. With no transportation bill, within a few years, we will have no additional capacity projects. We'll have only preservation, and our pavements will fall farther, and our bridge conditions will fall farther and farther behind.
Commissioner, a question about the ordering of projects. I understand these are based on long-term plans and done by career, classified employees. They're not an at-will decision. But then we've got these ongoing debates about maybe, in some cases, federal earmarks changing your order, or possibly local state earmarks from a bonding bill changing your order. How does that all play into what you're trying to do?
A couple of things. One, the question is about earmarks, and have there been both federal or state specified projects to allocate our funds toward particular legislative directed goals. And I have been on record to be opposing specifying projects through legislation on the state system. And as you may know, earmarks really was stopped being done at the federal level a number of years ago. We still have a few projects which were from earmarks from years ago, but that's really winding down. And part of what happened with the federal reauthorization a number of years ago was to require performance measures that asset condition, in other words, pavement condition, bridge condition, should be the objective criteria to determine what projects take precedence over others. So my only concern about earmarks in legislation is that it becomes a political solution, not necessarily the objective, most efficient solution. All those projects that have been identified in legislation this year are very worthy projects and no doubt could be achieved with adequate levels of funding over time. But to have one project leapfrog other projects, sometimes with the local roads that are required to support a project wouldn't even be in place. Some of the engineering and environmental work wouldn't be completed for 2 or 3 years, so there's timing issues. And of course, whenever you highlight certain projects, there's a whole number of other projects which would have to be left behind. So, you know, the idea of picking winners and losers is, I think, a perilous path for everybody. And I personally do not weigh in and choose projects. I really rely on the professionalism of our engineers and our planners to be thoughtful about how we are able to maintain a system over periods of a decade as opposed to this year or that year. And that's one of the issues behind just picking one-time funding. If we have $200 million or $100 million coming out of legislation, that in itself gives the illusion that we're making progress, but it can only manage maybe 1, 2 projects, and the rest of the system continues to erode. So the idea of ongoing dedicated streams of revenue where we can have some bonding, absolutely, but it really is about a thoughtful long-term plan, and creating urgency for a long-term plan is sometimes hard to do. But we are reaching the point of urgency because now we've reached that cliff that we've been talking about for a number of years.
You guys talked Metro. Where outstate are going to be some of the major headache points?
You're Mr. Metro. We can show you the map, and you can see where some of the projects are really around the entire state. So it depends on the local area. But I really defer to some of our district engineers to give you more detail.
I have a couple questions. You mentioned earlier that this year we're seeing fewer projects in comparison to last year, but do you think the average commuter will really feel that there's less or really notice? Because it's just as kind of one of those things on paper, it looks like there's less, but the perception from the average commuter, do you think people will really notice that this year's down the number of projects?
So the question is, we've said that there are fewer projects, 211 versus 300 or so we've had in previous years. And would commuters, particularly, I think you're asking in the metro area, would you notice that we describe gaps in funding, and yet everywhere you drive there's another orange cone? So what's that all about? Is that the question? Yeah. You know, I recognize that we're doing a number of preservation projects, so it's very difficult for us to make a case to motorists generally that there's a continuing eroding system. But these are really winding down major projects that have been planned for decades. When you consider the north-south movements of Highway 100 over a number of years, now 169, where we're actually having a very accelerated program in order to get it done in a year, and even cutting it off. And then all that in preparation of I-35 that is really beginning this year and kicks in a more robust way after the Super Bowl. So all those have been planned for many years, and it is all about an aging system, like a lot of us aging baby boomers whose knees are beginning to feel sore. This is a system that's 50 to 60 years old and was never intended to last more than 40 years. So we're reaching a bubble where we have to really rebuild so many bridges and so many pavements to keep them in good shape. And sadly, there's just many more pavements and bridges that we have to address that aren't being addressed. And even though there's a major kind of construction projects, some of them are frankly pavement or kind of, in the word, patching, when we should be doing a full reconstruction and have it last decades. Some projects will only last less than 10 years because they're done with less resources, even though they're very disruptive. That's the part that I think I'm greatly concerned about, is when we're spending not enough money and not getting the full solution, and yet we're just disruptive. So what happens with inefficiency and frequent patching, those are my words, then we're actually disrupting traffic more and more. So having a full dedicated funding that we can count on will result in less traffic disruption over time because we can do it thoughtfully.
My next question has to do with planning, and you may not be familiar with all the details of this project, 94 Brooklyn Center to Minneapolis, but it's brought to my attention that they're talking about full weekend closures during the Minnesota State Fair, which affects Metro commuters as well as outstate drivers, and I'm just wondering if there's any way we can not do that. I mean, it seems like planning with doing a major shutdown on 94 a weekend during the state fair is just not good planning. And you have a schedule to stick to, but what can we do about that?
Because that's a particularly difficult question. I'm going to refer that to Tom.
And I'm going to refer to our construction engineer, Steve Barrett, at the back. I'm not familiar with that level of detail of schedule. So
Wasn't planning on being up front here. So we do a lot of weekend closures, and we do some every year during the fair. We do look at if it impacts the state fair traffic or not, excuse me, and in this case we'll have to take a look. That is far enough away from the state fair that I don't think it's going to directly affect people's ability to get to the fairgrounds, but we can maybe talk afterwards and go into more detail.
It seems like you've got people coming through St. Cloud 94, outstate drivers especially. And even though it's not at the state fair in St. Paul, everybody goes to the state fair, whether you're coming in from the West Metro or North Side or wherever. Greater Minnesota especially, those people who are just not familiar with our interstates.
One thing to consider is every weekend with both people from the Metro going north and people coming into the city, it isn't just a state fair when you think about the summer of travel where traffic counts are way up. And, so we acknowledge it's a state fair, but also, frankly, every weekend in July and August, there's going to be disruption.
Quick question about the movable barriers for the lane switches. Is that done, do they just pick a time or a safe time to do that? How does that work?
we've used it on approaching a half a dozen projects now, and we use it in two scenarios. One is to match up with the peak direction, and the other is during off-peak times to give the contractor more working room. The operation is designed to be safe. Last year was the first time with 494, it was actually the year before that, where we had this, it's a big machine that moves it like a zipper. And that big machine was coming at traffic, so we were concerned about that, but put out a pretty big publicity blitz, and the operations were safe.
Gap between where they're at and the governor's at so wide?
Well, the question is about the conference committee process. how would that negotiation be with the governor's position on transportation? And you know, there's two bills, one from the House, one from the Senate. They're pretty far apart. So I think it might. Let's see if there's a conference committee appointed, and in our opinion, let's see how they can come together and then negotiate with the governor. They are both far apart from where the governor's position is. But I think that both the House and the Senate have their own discrepancies. So, you know, I think one step at a time. And they certainly are aware of the governor's position. And certainly at the end of the day, there will be compromise. The governor's always signaled he'd be willing to compromise. But right now, I think the House and the Senate have many issues to resolve.
All right, thank you much. As I said, all of the collateral is on the website, and Chris Kruger from the Metro District is back here in a yellow sweater. She has all our communications folks here, and Metro has all of its, or many of its program delivery, project management folks. So if you have questions about specific projects, please talk to them. And thank you all for coming today.